The UFC makes their return to Paris this weekend, but outside of that, there's still an assortment of regional MMA to fill your schedule up with. I'm Zach Kaufman, and this is the 4 Ounce to Freedom Regional Report for September 27th through September 29th, where I'll shine a spotlight on the fights you need to watch this weekend. For Friday, September 27th, there's only really 2 cards going on Friday. That is CFFC 136 and XFC 51. While XFC 51 has some great fights in their lineup, CFFC has the fights you really should be checking out live on Friday, and go on Triller and check out the XFC 51 replay afterwards. First up, we have Lorraine Santos versus Luis Vazquez. Originally, Vazquez was scheduled to be in the co-main event of this card, facing off against Autumn Norton for Norton's bantamweight title, but Norton had to withdraw for undisclosed reasons. Now Vazquez, who still wants to remain active for her U.S. debut in CFFC, found her a formidable opponent in Lorena Santos. Santos makes her CFFC debut after falling short in her last fight to Jackie Cataline, who was actually offered an interim title shot against Vazquez. However, due to being booked for Power Slap, whatever bullshit in Abu Dhabi next month, she could not hold on to the date and decided to not take it. So prior to her loss to Cataline, however, Santos was on a 6-fight winning streak, with half of those coming by finish. Now, normally that would be a great stat, but you do have to keep in mind those did come from the Brazilian regionals, so there are some questionable matchmaking there. But however, great opponent for, Luis Vazquez's U.S. debut. And the real focus is, as I keep kind of mentioning, is Luis Vazquez, an undefeated fighter from Argentina with every single fight coming by way of finish. You do need to point out, she's only fought a winning record once, twice if you count her debut, because it was a debutant. So while the finishes are impressive, it does come down to also level of competition. In this fight, however, we'll see if Vazquez truly is the real deal or not. And, maybe we'll see her versus Norton later this year, if not early next year. Sticking with the same card, we are moving to the men's featherweight division, where we have Chris Bad Apple Vasil versus John the Dragon Nguyen. Vasil is making a 7th walk under the CFFC banner, with his last fight being against now former champion and PFL fighter Jose Perez. An absolute war. They went all 20 minutes, with Jose winning by unanimous decision. In his time with the promotion, however, he's faced pretty much the who's who of CFFC, with names such as Paul Capato, Vilson Nadroni, Frank Wells, and of course, as I just mentioned, Jose Perez. However, this time he's facing promotional newcomer John Nguyen. Nguyen's the former unified MMA featherweight champion, who did lose his title to Mateo Vogel, who's not a bad loss on a record. This fight has potential to be the number 1 contender fight for the winner of next month's CFFC featherweight title between Bo Samaniego and Anthony DeLemme. I'm expecting John to kind of showcase why he should be the next one up. However, Bad Apple has shown again, time and time, that, he can ruin plans. Ask Frank Wells. From there, we go to a teammate of Chris Vasil and Bilal Hasan, who faces a new opponent in Jose Leon for the vacant CFFC flyweight title. Originally scheduled to face Harris Bonfiglio, Figlio had to kind of pull out. He got a nice promotion at work, and he just so happens to start that role this week. So, congratulations to Harris, and hopefully this fight can, maybe come together later on. However, this time, Bilal does come in riding a 4-fight undefeated streak, with the last 3 being highlight reels. The Indonesian fighter does face off against Jose Leon, originally of Mexico, who comes in with a 2-2 record. It's a little sketchy. His last fight out, Jose did lose by submission to a striker. Just to kind of give an idea of, the level of competition that is being faced up here. While most promotions would have gone to the guy who beat the now former champ, they're going to, there's a reason why, CM Punk is on the broadcast, and they do a lot of sports entertainment things under the CFFC banner. This one, of course, is moving forward the same way. Bilal's a highlight reel finisher. He has high potential. Bilal should continue to be stepping up level competition, not getting a layup just to get a title on him. But as always, as we all have been told before, there's no easy fights in CFFC. Now point to the CFFC banner. Now, possibly the most intriguing fight of this card, however, is when returning welterweight champion Raheem Rambo Forrest comes in to face Blaine Richards. Rambo makes his first return since his appearance with the Dana White Contender Series, which saw Danny Barlow stamp his invite to the UFC. And we actually come in a year and a day away from that fight, when Rambo was now going to be coming in to face Blaine Richards, trying to show why he still is deserving of that UFC call-up. Originally, he was set to face Gage Saunders, who supposedly is out with an injury, but they also said Harris was out with an injury. So I don't know if Gage is injured, but I'll say this. Gage just got married to Marnik Mann. So I have a feeling it's like a marriage thing where he's like, shit, just got married, probably shouldn't fight. So, I guess congratulations for marrying Marnik Mann. I don't know if I'm just going to say best wishes. I'll be nice, best wishes. Now, on the other side of Rambo is Blaine Richards is looking to come out here and spoil his plans. Understanding the fact that with a win here, he not only gets the CFFC title, but, he kind of takes that, hype and following that Raheem has. Richard comes in at a Skywalker 101 Boxing Academy, pretty much known as Anthony Smith's gym, and he makes his third walk for the promotion. The prior 2 fights, he's taken out hometown heroes in both Philly and Tampa. In Philly, he submitted Eric Nolan by rear naked choke. Down in Tampa, he defeated his opponent, who I don't even remember his name, by unanimous decision by just basically dog walking him for 15 minutes. He rides a 5-fight win streak with only 2 of those going to the scorecard, and it's safe to say neither Richards or Forrest wants to see judges allotted in here, nor go anywhere near the 20 to 25 minutes available for this fight. If there is one fight, though, you want to watch this weekend, it is this one. I still don't know which side I'm leaning to. Raheem has, obviously, the knockout power. I think Blaine has the submission prowess. Richard can also knock out people, and, you had to go back to his amateur career, but Raheem has also submitted people. Currently, Tapology has it an 80-20 split in favor of Raheem, which is probably more accurate. The more I dive into it, I lean Raheem, and then but, Richard has done all this, so very intriguing fight, and I think definitely is one to kind of set the mood to, who could be on the next radar, be it, next year's Contender Series, a short notice, or even, 1 or 2 fights defending this belt to kind of build up that repertoire to make it the next step. Saturday night, we hop to Spectation Sports for Lights Out Championship 17. There's 2 fights on here to really keep an eye on. First off, is currently listed as the co-main event. We get Kevin, the Motown Phenom Lee, making his return to the cage against Thiago Oliveira. Takes a lot for a fighter who has reached the pinnacle of the sport, such as the UFC, to kind of drop back down to a rather unknown promotion for those who aren't heavily invested in regional MMA. The Lights Out Championship have given us the likes of Austin Bashi, and even Jamal Hill has come through there. However, with that, Kev understands he has to put the work in to kind of showcase that at 32 years old, he is still able and willing to fight at that next level. Be it UFC, PFL, or so on. I mean, he even jokingly offered to fight on Contender Series to kind of prove his shot as to why he deserves to be back where he was. Across from him is Thiago Oliveira. Thiago has bounced around a bit through the Brazilian regionals, as well as even over Kazakhstan's Octagon. He's even had 1 fight with Bellator. This 30-plus fight veteran is somehow going to give us an idea of where Kevin Lee stands nowadays. It's not a layup fight for Kevin. It's one of those, Thiago has been around. Kevin's probably going to have to push forward through here. It's kind of probably similar to the Diego Sanchez fight, where Kevin's going to have to work to really make it through here. And like I said, win or lose, I feel we get answers as to where Kevin's career might be here. Being managed by Ali, there's a really good chance we might see Kevin maybe finally actually do that PFL career that he was hinting at before he went back to the UFC. And, we should also keep in mind, Kevin kind of wants to come out of here unscathed because he does have a Gamebred FC fight booked basically the month after. The last fight to keep an eye on is also another dominance fighter in Abe Alsaghir, who's going to be now facing Eric Vo. Abe, the killer Asghar, is on a 5-fight win streak as a professional, but 11 fights total throughout his amateur and into his pro career. He even has a win over at ADXC in grappling. He was originally set to face Connor Cuppe, but a very last-minute replacement now has him facing Eric Vo to defend his title. Vo's quickly approaching 50 pro fights compared to, Abe's 11, or 5 pro fights, but, 11 total. However, for the past 7 years, Vo has never seen the win column, not even remotely close to it. Normally, I'd sit here and I'd bitch and rant about the matchup, but this one's purely an experience book to keep not only Abe on here, but to kind of have him fight someone who's been around more than the regional level amount of fights. Many of those opponents that, and this is another reason why Abe's kind of interested most likely, is a lot of those opponents have made it to that next level in the career for, with names such as Jarrett Brooks, who's over in 1, Cody Stamen, Austin Bashi, who just got his Contender Series contract and actually I think might have a fight booked already with the UFC. Mando Gutierrez, Katavius Ramius, who also just got his UFC contract from Contender Series, and Tyson Nam. And that was actually Tyson's last fight was against Vo. And then, this, as I mentioned, this is going to be on Spectation Sports, so it's not your Fight Pass, it's not YouTube. It is a subscription-based service featuring all regional MMA. Great service if you like regional MMA. So if you're ever looking to check out Spectation Sports, you can get 20% off your first month or your first year if you use the promo code 4ounce, 4OZ at checkout. That takes your first month down to about $15 and about your year down to roughly $60. I'm a subscriber. The real ones who watch Regional MMA are subscriber, and if you're a fan of the Regional Report, you're going to want to be a subscriber. So that concludes the edition of the Regional Report. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this with anyone you think will be interested. And hey, be sure to tune in for not only these fights, but in next week's edition as well. If there's any fights I missed, like I said, the XFC has a nice card too. Zach Paul is back on there. Sydney Outlaw's on there. So there's a lot of names that are on there that are worth watching, which maybe just not live. But are there any fights that you're like, damn, Zach, I can't believe you missed this? Leave it down below and let me and everyone else know what fights you think we should be watching this weekend as well. Thanks for tuning in.